Rare coin collecting. Discover real value and history in every coin.
Here we go with the next coin in our sequence. And this one is a perfect example of how a single year can quietly create multiple stories inside the same design. The 1942p Jefferson nickel looks ordinary at first glance, but it sits right on the edge of one of the most important metal changes in U.S. coin history. That makes this coin far more interesting and potentially far more valuable than most people ever realize. In 1942, the United States was fully involved in World War II, and strategic metals were suddenly more important than coins. Nickel, in particular, was desperately needed for armor plating and military equipment. Because of that, the U.S. Mint made a major decision in the middle of the year. Stop using nickel in 5-cent coins altogether. But before that change took effect, millions of regular copper-nickel Jefferson nickels were already being struck. That's how we ended up with two very different versions of the 1942p nickel, both released into circulation the same year. Early in 1942, Philadelphia struck nickels using the traditional copper-nickel alloy. These coins have no large mint mark above Monticello on the reverse, just like earlier Jefferson nickels. Later in the year, once the wartime alloy was approved, the mint switched to a silver-based composition made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. To make sure these silver coins could be easily identified and removed after the war, the mint placed a large mint mark above Monticello for the first time in U.S. history. That means, if you see a big P above the building, you're holding a wartime silver nickel. This mid-year transition is what makes the 1942p so interesting to collectors. It's the only year where Philadelphia produced both non-silver and silver Jefferson nickels. And because most people don't know that, many silver examples were spent, lost, or overlooked for decades. That directly affects survival, especially for higher-grade pieces. Condition makes a big difference here. A circulated non-silver 1942p is common and might be worth only face value or a small premium. But a wartime silver 1942p, even in worn condition, is always worth more because of its silver content. In average circulated grades, these silver nickels can bring $2 to $5 depending on silver prices. In nicer AU condition, values often move into the $10 to $20 range. Once you reach mint state, the numbers change quickly. A clean MS 63 silver 1942p can sell for $30 to $60. MS 65 examples with strong luster and minimal marks often reach $150 to $300. And high-end gem coins with full steps on Monticello, a sign of a strong strike, can climb into the four-figure range. Exceptional full steps examples have sold for $1,500, $2,500, and even higher when competition is strong. Metal composition plays a huge role in preservation. The wartime alloy behaves differently from standard nickel. It tones easily, often developing beautiful gray, gold, or blue hues. Collectors prize attractive toning paired with sharp detail. At the same time, these coins can show surface issues if improperly stored, so originality and eye appeal matter enormously. Another detail collectors look for is strike quality. Wartime nickels were often weakly struck because the new alloy was harder to work with. That makes sharply struck coins, especially those with fully defined steps on Monticello, much scarcer than mintage numbers suggest. That's why grading services place such a premium on the full steps designation. What really keeps the 1942p Jefferson nickel interesting is that it represents a moment when history directly reshaped money. This wasn't a planned collectible. It was a wartime necessity. The coin you're holding connects directly to factories, weapons production, and a global conflict that changed the world. And because many were spent without a second thought, high-quality survivors continue to disappear into long-term collections. So if you ever come across a 1942 P. Jefferson nickel, flip it over. Look above Monticello. That one detail tells you which side of history the coin came from. Ordinary peacetime production or America's urgent wartime shift. And depending on the metal, condition, and strike, that nickel could be worth far more than 5 cents. Here we go with the next coin in our sequence, and this one sits at the absolute top of modern Lincoln cent legends. The 1969 S. Lincoln penny is proof that a single minting mistake, made at exactly the wrong moment in history, can transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into one of the most feared, faked, and valuable pennies ever produced by the U.S. Mint. At first glance, it looks harmless, just another late 1960s San Francisco cent. But the moment you look closely at the date and the lettering, the entire story changes. This coin was struck during a period of chaos at the U.S. Mint. The late 1960s were marked by rising inflation, massive coin shortages, and public hoarding of silver coins. The Mint was under pressure to produce huge quantities of cents as fast as possible. Dies were being hubbed quickly, quality control was stretched thin, and mistakes slipped through. During that process, one obverse die received a misaligned hub impression, creating strong, true doubled die features before it was ever hardened and placed into service. When that die reached the San Francisco Mint and began striking coins, it produced some of the most dramatic doubling ever seen on a Lincoln cent. This isn't machine doubling. This isn't wear. This is true hub doubling, and it shows clearly in the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." The doubling is bold enough to see without magnification, which immediately separates genuine examples from weak or fake imitations. But what really turned the 1969 S into a legend is what happened next. When collectors first started finding these coins, authorities believed they were counterfeit. The doubling was so strong that the U.S. Secret Service stepped in. Several genuine coins were confiscated and destroyed before the Mint officially confirmed that they were authentic errors. That early destruction permanently reduced the already tiny population, turning a rare coin into an extreme rarity almost overnight. Today, fewer than 50 genuine examples are believed to exist. That number alone places this coin in elite territory. And because every confirmed piece entered circulation, condition varies widely. Even heavily circulated examples command enormous prices. A worn but authentic 1969 S doubled die can bring $30,000 to $50,000 without hesitation. Nicer circulated pieces with strong eye appeal have crossed $60,000. Mint state examples change the conversation entirely. MS-graded coins have sold for $75,000, $100,000, and well beyond. One exceptional example famously reached over $125,000, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold. The metal composition adds another layer to the story. This coin is struck in bronze, a copper-based alloy that shows contact marks, scratches, and toning very easily. While bronze ages better than later zinc cents, it still punishes circulation. That's why clean surfaces, original color, and strong luster can dramatically increase value. Collectors carefully examine Lincoln's cheek, the fields, and the rims. Even minor damage can mean tens of thousands of dollars lost in value. Condition and grading are absolutely critical here. Because of the number of fakes and altered coins in existence, authentication by a major grading service isn't optional. It's essential. Genuine examples show consistent doubling across all major design elements, especially the thickness of the letters and the split in the numbers of the date. Altered coins usually show flat, shelf-like doubling or irregular damage. That's why experienced collectors rely on diagnostics and certification before any serious money changes hands. What makes this coin so powerful is that it wasn't created for collectors. It wasn't announced. It wasn't saved. It slipped quietly into circulation, where ordinary people unknowingly spent what would later become 5-figure and 6-figure coins. Discoveries came from pocket change, coin rolls, and sharp eyes. That human element, the idea that history and fortune collided by accident, is what gives this penny its emotional weight. And demand has never slowed. Every major Lincoln cent collector wants one. Doubled die specialists chase it. Museums want it. Registry collectors compete fiercely for the few graded examples that ever appear on the market. Most known specimens are locked away in long-term collections, which means supply keeps shrinking while demand stays constant. The 1969 S. Lincoln penny proves that rarity isn't always about age or metal alone. It's about timing, mistakes, survival, and knowledge. One misaligned die, used during one chaotic year, created a penny that rewrote modern numismatic history. So if you ever come across a 1969 S cent, slow down. Study the date. Examine the lettering. Because while the odds are incredibly small, the reward, both historical and financial, could be life-changing.